Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Nexus podcast. I'm your co-host, M. Today, and as always, I'm here with my other co-host, King Jr., aka Burrito Voorhees.
Hey, what's going on?
What episode are we on now, my friend? I forget. Do you have the number? Do you
Oh
know the
man, you're
number?
putting me on the spot right
I
now. I
know,
think
sorry.
I
17?
believe this
17? Am I
is
crazy?
16 or 17. Yeah, this is 17.
Ooh, let's go. I know. Look at me being a fan of the Nexus
I know,
podcast.
right?
We
when the
appreciate that.
when the guest knows better than the co-host. Guest we have with us today, Poseidon. He is the owner, of the YouTube channel Poseidon SSB. He also hosts the Poseidon Cast on the same channel. He also hosts tournaments on Shirai Rio TV. So Shirai Space, Rio like the character Space TV, in which he hosts a variety of tournaments. Uh, Probably more Injustice One, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen more of those than maybe more, Mortal Kombat, but I think it's evenish for the most part. Um, Say hi, dudes, and welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. In terms of Shrera, we started in MK11, ran a ton of MK11 stuff. And then was mainly MK1, and then kind of just started the Injustice 2 stuff, mainly because people are like, oh, I hate MK1. I wish we would play this game or whatever. So I was kind of like, all right, I'll run events and see if people show up, and people have. Um, but and I just kind of kept doing them. It was just kind of like oh well, if you don't like the new game, we can run older stuff too.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
Honestly, just let me say thank you. Like a lot of what you do, um, the Demon Lobby,
Mhm.
uh, obviously the folks at Coliseum, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera.
Mhm.
Rips, right? Like I think a lot of that work is going unnoticed because we're like
Mhm.
known as a divided community, in the NRS community. Everybody hates each other's games. This guy likes this, but he wants to slap the other guy because the other guy likes that, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's important to keep our community active and hosting these events and
Mhm.
give people an opportunity, to compete, to watch the tournament. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. That's definitely why I do it. So you had it spot on.
Yeah, well, that said, I do have to ask you. So, which is your favorite game to host? Which is your favorite game to play?
So favorite game to host right now, definitely Injustice 2. Just one, they have rooms. Crazy, right? Like, it's actually like it's surprising how much easier it is to run an event online when there's rooms because everyone's just there. Even if they're playing off stream, they're right there, so they don't have to find each other, message each other, add their WB, add their PSN, whatever. They're just there, send you and play the match. For stream matches, they go like seamlessly because the people are there. I go from one stream match to another. It's quick. It's a very fun game to watch. I know gameplay wise, it had its drawbacks, especially when the game was like the main game. I know a lot of people don't absolutely love it, but in terms of watching, very very pretty game to watch, very fun game to watch. In terms of currently playing, I do still really like Mortal Kombat One. Um, but I honestly, I really liked 11. I honestly haven't played a Mortal Kombat game and not enjoyed it, if I'm being honest with you. Or even Injustice 1 and 2. All of them have been fun, is kind of varying degrees of fun based off the current time, but I still like MK1 a lot, honestly.
So, let's say if you were to compete in in the combo breaker coming up later this
Mm.
year, like which games would you, if you traveled, which games would you enter? And
Oh,
looking forward to competing in.
yeah. So I'm definitely going to Combo Breaker, and I will be competing in MK1, 11, and Injustice 2. Depending on how good Burrito Voorhees' Doomsday Guide is for Injustice 1, maybe I'll enter that and try to fraud some people with Doomsday. Um, and Yeah, I mean, I look forward to watching all of them. I'll probably also be competing in Invincible at that point because I know the game's going to be out by then. But I know this is mainly about MK. But yeah, I mean, I say I enjoy. If I don't enjoy playing the MK or Injustice game, I enjoy watching it.
Um, I'm gonna ask the question because I know King Jr. is gonna ask it eventually.
Mhm.
Like, where do you stand on this whole legacy discussion? I know that um it's always been a hot topic in the NRS community,
Mhm.
about the legacy or lack thereof,
Mhm.
in our games. What do you think of, where do you stand? And, kind of give us some specifics.
Hey,
I think
before you answer that, I'm sorry.
no.
I just want to say, my piece before we get to this topic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
First off, thanks for running your events for our community. Like, it's a good thing we have someone like you and the other organizers to try to bring the community together and keep the game alive, stuff like that. So really grateful that you do that for us. And
Of course, thank you.
If you're going to Combo Breaker, I'll definitely make sure to have that guide out. I'm probably going to have Doomsday either next or second to next. So I already got the clips made for him. So yeah, I just released Killer Frost's guide video. So hoping that everybody likes the format and it's like straightforward and just that's something to look forward to. But yeah, back to the legacy topic. Go on, Dave.
No, yeah, it was just my question to Poseidon, where he stands on these, on this issue.
So I see it both the pros and cons of both. So it's cool to have like an original feel because it's not like just the same thing. But I think that what benefits you get from that are also drawbacks. The fact that, like, for example, playing Johnny Cage in MK11, in this game I go to do Rising Star and it's his like parry, and in MK11 it was down forward 3. In this game it was down back, and I still to this day will mess that up, and instead of like try to do the combo, and I end up doing his like dash thing because it's just different inputs, which is definitely interesting. I mean, Street Fighter does it, Tekken does it, and they don't really lack in the ability to get in new people and to keep the game fresh still. So I wish we could have a little bit more legacy. Honestly, like I see why they do it, because they want to like have like unique feels and stuff like that, and they want to bring in unique aspects to the characters. Even in this new Mortal Kombat game, even the backstories they changed a bit based off, now Liu Kang is the owner of the Hourglass, and now everyone has these new backstories, so lore-wise stuff even changed. But it would be really cool just to see what it would be like if the next MK game that came out, the button inputs were the same, the moves kind of look similar, they changed maybe the frame data and stuff like that, and try to actually do a real legacy game. I would love to see that, because I think it could have a lot of benefits. But then again, a lot of people didn't really like Mortal Kombat 1. So then if they're like, oh, we're going to make a legacy, people are like, oh my God, this is just Mortal Kombat 1, 2. And they're going to be upset about that. So I'm not sure if it's just our community, or if that's just fighting game communities in general, or just gaming communities in general. But it seems like they can't win either way. So for me personally, if you get to make the decision based off what you want, it would be cool to see a legacy thing. But at the same time, I understand why they don't. But I think that could help a lot.
I believe there's a balance, just like there's balance in, in character strengths, which gameplay styles are, better and worse. I think there's also a balance in legacy. I don't know if you play Street Fighter 6, you have a character like Blanca. It is Blanca from Street Fighter 2, right? Except, he has the Blanca chuns, and, maybe he has a couple of new moves that he's never had before, like the jump back, like Blanca ball. So that's, I think, the way to go. Like, you kind of, like you said, you want to kind of keep the inputs more or less the same, and the main special move should be in the game with the same inputs. But yeah, I do hope that the developers, take some liberty as far as, adding new moves, adjusting frame data, like you said. I think that's 100% okay. But I think that it has to be a balance between like no legacy at all and pure legacy 100%, right? And I think
100%.
you're probably gonna win some people on both sides if you do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for NRS at this point. I'm not sure if it's because I didn't really get into the competitive aspect of MK. I've been playing it my whole life, but like where like we really, really care about these things until like the end of Injustice 2. So I don't really know, because basically like people didn't really like Injustice 2, like, too zony, stages too big, too slow. MK11, people didn't like. They're like, oh, there's not enough like creative freedom when it comes to combos, and people just thought that, like, people didn't like the regenerating meter, people didn't like crushing blows. And then we get MK1, and it's like, okay, we don't like the assists, the game's too slow. You know what I mean? So it's like, if they do go the legacy route, where are they going to pull the legacy from? Are they going to make like MK9/X2 and try to pull legacy from that, because those are games that are kind of remembered more fondly? Or are they going to go and try to just build off MK1, a game that has kind of universally poor feedback, not only in the NRS community, but in the entire FTC? and try to do that. You know what I mean? Is it like too lost? Like, are they going to try to make a fresh game and then try to go legacy from there? It's kind of like, I don't really know what the good move is at this point. I don't know. Like, some people are even saying like, oh, we're too far gone, and NRS is going to be, you know, I mean, it's never going to be able to get back to like, you know, the big three where it was Street Fighter, Tekken, MK. Those were kind of like the big three, and now MK has kind of fallen off. Street Fighter and Tekken are reaching new heights, while MK is not even at Evo, for example. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know.
It's
I
like,
really don't know the answer.
I don't know if you saw the numbers for Evo Japan.
Mm.
Um,
Oh yeah, I did.
well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Mortal Kombat is the only game that has fallen off. If you looked at those numbers, and I know King Junior, I don't know if you have, they're available in event hubs. I
Yeah.
think Streets Fighter 6 has so many more entrants, even if you combine all the other
All the other
games,
games, yeah, Street Fighter
and you
still
double,
crushing it.
yeah, and even if you double that number, Street Fighter 6 still has more entrants. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like, what to think about that. I don't think.
Mm,
Look, I'm happy for Street Fighter 6. I think it deserves it,
mm,
100%, and I think
mm,
it is the best. You know, I think even objectively speaking, as an overall product, right? Not
mm,
necessarily, do you like Drive Rush and all that stuff, right? That's a
mhm,
specific thing, but like, I think it's probably the best overall product, and I think the game
mm.
deserves it. But I'm not sure that it's healthy for the FGC to have
Oh,
uh
it's not.
lopsided numbers like that. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I don't think it's really healthy for them to see at all. Um, it's interesting how many like I'm not sure it's like because like how many people like are going for Street Fighter. I'm surprised there isn't more just like okay, Street Fighter is the main game I compete in, but I'm also gonna enter 2SKO, for example. You know what I mean? Like I'm also gonna enter. It's just interesting that it doesn't seem like there's that much like bleed over. You know what I mean? Like I played
Yeah.
like whatever games are there. If I play in them, like for example, like Smash Ultimate, for example, I almost never play the game at home. But if there's a tournament at like a regional or a major and it has Smash Ultimate, like I'll enter and play in the bracket and see what I can do, and I can still do decent. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna win the tournament. I'm not gonna make top 8, but you know what I mean. So I'm surprised that for how many people are going for Street Fighter, there isn't like that bleed over of like, oh, there's this new game that like I've been playing a little bit here and there. I'll enter that tournament just for fun. Well, I take Street Fighter really serious. I'm not sure if this like maybe I'm just like sensitive about it. I've noticed a lot of people don't talk well about MK, and I'm not sure if there's just a and then I think maybe that bleeds over to other games where there's a lot of just Street Fighter purists where it's like I play only Street Fighter and that's the only game because it's the best product and every other game pales in comparison. I'm not sure if it's like that or if it's more people are just taking the event seriously and only want to focus on one game. But it's very interesting. Like the numbers are more lopsided than any event I think I've ever seen before in my life.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm.
King Junior, what do you think about that phenomenon?
I have seen I've seen like a Twitter picture of the standings, I think, and the entrance, and yeah, that's definitely the most lopsided entry count I've ever seen in a tournament as well.
Mm.
I'm not sure what the reason is for that. I know a lot of people talk about Tekken not being as enjoyable because of the like comeback mechanics and all that stuff, but I don't
Mm.
really play Tekken all like that. I just play King,
Mm.
and I just know one combo with him that you taught me, Dave. So that's all I know about the game. So I played a little bit of ranked and all that stuff, but I can understand why people have a problem with the comeback mechanics, especially being like the Tekkens
Mm.
before it. I guess weren't as like comeback mechanic heavy, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, Street Fighter, objectively speaking, is probably like the most polished like modern fighting game. I think that's fair to
Mhm.
say, and I think it deserves its flowers.
Mm.
But I know some people are talking about like the lack of content and like in the patches for Street Fighter. Like that's like what I hear about Street Fighter right now is like the game's just been
Mhm.
kind of the same for most of its life and with like little
Mhm.
to no change. And
Mhm.
like the few changes they do like are very little or don't like come that often. Almost like
Yeah.
MK1 almost like
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but if I recall, Street Fighter gets patched like once a year, right, or something like that, or like once every like 6 months. So it's not very infrequent. If I recall correctly, I'm not very into Street Fighter, if I'm being honest.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
They've been doing this slightly more, like in maybe last year. The first
Mhm.
year, I think, when the game was released, at that point, it hadn't had a patch for like like a
Right.
year, which is
Yeah, it was like a
crazy.
year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which is insane. So, but I
Mhm.
think now it's more like like one big patch and then maybe one smaller one
Mhm.
after 6 months or after 5 months, something like that.
Mhm.
But apparently,
Yeah.
just real quick, I don't know, the producer or whoever that individual is right now, or the main developer, they're saying that they're going to do a little bit more.
Mhm.
I saw in articles.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know there's. Oh, I'm sorry, Cleveland.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, I was like, I know there's a lot of like nowadays with all the social media and stuff. There's a lot of like, oh, if the game isn't the way you want it to be, give the devs a lot of pushback on it. You know what I mean? Like for example, MK1 not having rooms. I think that's pretty unacceptable, especially since you can go back to MK versus DC and we had rooms. So just like the basic things that are not even like, oh, this is a feature. This is just what you should expect, not being in the game. That's definitely stuff that you should give pushback for. But it could be to the point where it's like we're all pushing back really hard on like every single game. I feel like I can't like I'm not really too involved with like all of the fighting games, but like I feel like I see negative things every day on social media. Oh, like the heat system, even like in Street Fighter, like oh, drive rush makes the game. Oh, the skill gap isn't big enough. You know what I mean? It makes it hard to compete in, to the point where it's like when you think of like FGC fighting games, I feel like the big thing is like Street Fighter, and maybe Street Fighter's thriving, but at that point, maybe like all the negativity and stuff. Maybe I'm just theory crafting, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Is causing people not to not want to go to events, stuff like that, until they get the product that they want. Um, which is I think is a good thing because you definitely should do that if if especially like I said with basic features and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's causing less people to want to go to events or take the game seriously. Maybe because of the talk or because of just the games these days, they have the comeback mechanics make it less competitive. I saw Tom Brady put a clip out there and said like, what drives sales for games isn't what makes the game competitive. It's kind of like, Mario Kart, for example. Like Mario Kart probably has sold more copies than any fighting game, but it's not very competitive because they have comeback mechanics. You're in last place. You get, the bullet bill, whatever, that puts you in like first place immediately. It's just like it's fun, but it takes away competitive integrity. And we're like, I'm not sure if you guys have heard like the 80-20 rule. It's basically like a business thing where it says like 80% of your sales will be from 20% of the people who buy your product. So like 80% of the playtime is going to be to the 20% of like the competitive community. So it's like, are they going to value the people who play this game with longevity, or are they going to value the people who play the game, buy it once, play it for a week, and don't play it anymore? And those are the latter is where the sales are. The previous is where that's the playtime is. And it seems like Street Fighter has found pretty much values the first part, and I think that's why they're successful in the competitive community. And I mean, I'm not sure how the overall sales are, but I haven't heard anything about Capcom. Hasn't been able to profit from Street Fighter. It seems like it's fine. So I think people could probably take a lesson from Street Fighter and be like, hey, you can value the competitive community and still thrive in terms of like sales and stuff like that. Maybe I just went on a tangent, but that's just my opinion.
No, I don't think you did at all. I think Street Fighter 6 actually has sold very well. I think it's on pace to probably outsell even Mortal Kombat 1. We'll see obviously how the numbers finalize. Uh, but speaking of Tom Brady, one thing that he's my friend. Obviously, I'm not here to like disparage him, but like one talking point that's kind of hard to take seriously is this like toxic positivity. But like you said, if you go to social media, who's really being positive? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
if you're being positive, then you're probably not getting attention. You're not get, your
yeah. You
tweets
are.
are not your tweets
Yeah,
are not getting the views. Or and then
yeah,
you're called a shill,
yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
10 other names that we don't want to get into. So I think it's the exact opposite. And for me personally, for Tekken, like the way the community behaves has affected my opinion of the game and competitively. I don't want to play a game in which which people want to boycott, or
Mm,
people threatening each other because you like one patch and the other guy doesn't. Like that's to me is deranged behavior. I'm all
mm,
about criticism, and I think like why wouldn't I be? And I think there's
mm,
plenty of stuff to take to criticize, but like why do we have to go to the extremes?
mm.
You know.
I agree.
Um,
I
and
agree.
I think
So,
again that has I think that like you said, I think that has affected people's
mm,
interest in the game, and competitively speaking, obviously.
mhm. 100%. Like you'll see, like every other week, there's someone who is like a big Street Fighter creator, for example, who just makes like a joke about MK for like some reason, like, and it's like, maybe it's low hanging fruit. I'm not sure if you guys know who Fido the Man is, but he's talked about this. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Where for example, like when you look at football, like the Carolina Panthers historically, recently, I mean, they just made the playoffs this year, have been bad, and they're in a small market. They're in Carolina. Like, no, you're not going to go on a sports talk show and hear them talking about the Panthers because they're just so irrelevant. But like when the Cowboys, big market team in Dallas, one of the America's team is doing bad, it's talked about in every sports show. Every sports show talk about how bad, you know what I mean? So it's like, is it MK is such a big market that it's like when it's bad, it's a talking point compared to a game like Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, who it's like, okay, this game was released, played for a month by people, and then no one really plays it except for like the really, really hardcore competitive people. And nobody's talking about, oh, Nick All Star Brawl 2 is bad. You know what I mean? Because, no offense to them, but like, who cares? So I don't know if it's like that aspect or if it's literally like now there's like a negative stigma. It's like, oh, like it reminds me of like kids playing like Yu-Gi-Oh in high school. Like you're like the nerd table, like you're like seen as like, oh, you play MK, that's like weird to the point where it's like almost has the negative stigma. Like, maybe I'm crazy, but like I've gone to like locals even where they're like, oh, MK. Like I've literally seen like Street Fighter players like say that, which is maybe if it was like, what do you mean? Like it's still a fun game. Like I can watch any fighting game and enjoy it. Especially, MK Justice. Again, maybe I just went on a tangent there, but I don't know. I also, funny enough, when you mentioned that, I literally just tweeted out, I love Mortal Kombat 1, so I want to see what happens with that. We
Like,
just talked about how like, positivity doesn't really get you anywhere, so we'll see if it gets like no traction or people start talking trash to me. I think either way it'll be a funny little experiment.
King Jr., what do you think about this discussion?
I think there's definitely been like, oh, you play NRS games, like NRS games are party games. Like I've definitely heard like bad stigmas on NRS games, but yeah, I don't know if like the behavior is kind of translating into like the lower numbers for some of these games or not of like the community's behavior. Um, we've had our moments in our community like where like there's been just like some obnoxious behavior like so I mean it's not just like the Tekken community or the Smash community or whatever, but um, I do think as far as like the interest of the developers and the interest of the competitors being like unaligned is definitely true to Tom's point, but I've also never heard of that 80-20 rule that you explained, Poseidon. That's like pretty interesting. It is like kind of interesting talking point, but yeah, I mean, it's probably not the easiest solution to try and diagnose or problem to diagnose,
It's
but
very nuanced. Yeah.
um, yeah, I do think it's like worth talking about because the competitors do keep the game like relevant in the long term. But yeah, obviously the casuals are the ones that get us the sales and the game its profit. So um, yeah, that's just what I'll say on that topic. I don't have much else to say as far as like the community behavior and like the NRS stigma. I don't know. I just think it's especially like the older NRS games. Like I really don't think it's like I feel like MK11 is really like the closest thing to a party game that we have in our games. Like I'm genuinely just not a fan of that game at all, and I would say that's probably the closest party game we have in our lineup of games.
Fair enough. A lot of combat mechanics in that game. Wake up down 2 into 50. Like, just because they found a way to reward you for wake up down 2 even more. Like, just caving.
Yeah, don't get me started on that game. I will say that, and trust me, guys, I'm not going there, but I think that designing a fighting game is kind of like being a politician. You cannot please everybody, right? At some point, you have to make a decision, and it's gonna piss off somebody or some section of your voting base, and I think that's how fighting games are, and perhaps Poseidon, you can attribute to this because like I think kind of like King Jr. said, like what the developers want doesn't necessarily align with what the competitive players want, doesn't necessarily align with what the audience wants, right? And you're a player, you're a streamer, and you do a podcast, you do a lot of these things. And sometimes what's in a fighting game, it's not going to appeal to everybody, right?
It's not. It's. And that's what makes fighting games unique. If every fighting game was able to apply to every person, then there would only be one fighting game. You know what I mean? Like there's the different aspects of one to it. Like for me, for Street Fighter, I think it's like very slow paced. Like I don't know, like it just seems like even like watching it, like I can watch it and enjoy it, but it's like I know that's kind of seen as like the pinnacle of fighting games. It's like, you know, obviously with there's Evo Japan numbers, the recent Evo numbers, the prize pools and stuff. It's the biggest fighting game in the world, at least in terms of the FGC. No doubt about it, no debate. But personally, like I don't find it very fun. Like I like the kind of like special moves, fast paced aspect. Like I liked 11. I love the movement in 11, like the wave dashing and stuff like that. I know X was super fast paced. So I feel like the pacing of MK is what I enjoy about it. Um, I mean, I know this game was a little slower, but I have a run button with Reptile, so I don't really have to. If I just feel like running, if I feel like running at my opponent, I can do it, which I do. Trust me. Um, but yeah, and it's just like you said, like some things like, you know, that's like seen as the pinnacle. But someone like me who I consider myself very, very into fighting games. I love fighting games. Big aspect of my life outside of my job and my family. Probably the third biggest thing in my life. Um, so the fact that the biggest fighting game in the world is seen to someone like me as not that great. Like I said, I could watch it. I'm happy for them. I'll support events. I'll go to locals. I'm not going to compete, but I'll watch and stuff like that. But like you said, like you're not going to appeal to everyone. It's not possible. And fighting games are a niche, like within itself. You know, there's gaming, which is a niche, and then there's fighting games, which is a niche, and then there's the games within the fighting games, which is its own niche. So it's like you're really niching down. And the barrier to entry to fighting games in general is pretty high. Like it's like unless you're willing to kind of sit in practice mode, if you go into a match, you're just going to be button mashing. You know what I mean? Because it's not very like intuitive. Like Call of Duty, it's like, oh, you press this, you shoot with this, you hit the opponent enough, you kill them. Like you can sit down, not having played Call of Duty for 10 years, come back to the newest Call of Duty and know how to play it and probably have fun right away. But a fighting game, if I haven't played MK since MK9, come to one, I'm going to need to sit in the lab, practice a character, learn all the mechanics, learn the niche mechanics of the game, probably go through the tutorials if I really want to get into it. You know what I mean? It's just like that. Just, you know, from someone who doesn't play fighting games to getting them to the competitive scene is such a long bridge that I feel like it's just hard. Yeah, I think I went on another tangent, but
No, not at all. Actually,
mhm,
exactly discussing the topics that, you know, I argue with, whether it's King Jr. or Rio or Time or even, you know, to a lesser extent Mike Hollow. Uh, I feel like probably more so with Rio. I think he's kind of delusional when it comes to this topic. He thinks fighting games should even require more execution and more skill. I think that's complete
yeah,
insanity. When you really just think about Mortal Kombat, one, like a character like Gears is super counterintuitive the way he plays,
mhm.
right?
Oh,
Kenshi,
very.
you know, I hate fighting against him, but like he's not very intuitive at all. Like three stances, and you have this puppet character. Like it's so
100%.
weird, right? And
Mhm,
I would even argue, you know, even Cyrax again. I hate the character, but like, you know, doing the bomb setups, you kind of have
mhm,
to know what you're doing, and that stuff is not
mhm.
easy, man. Like
No.
especially, I think it's on the higher end, you know, for the NRX execution, you know, of
100%.
that realm, right? So to say I want even more, like I can completely understand why would, you know, isolate a community or, you know, not motivate certain players to play. I think I would use the Mortal Kombat 1 model in the sense that, you know, I like the design. You know, I like Geras' design. I like Kenshi as an execution character. I don't necessarily like the way he plays, right? I'm sure neither do you. But like,
No, no.
where do you stand? Like, I mean, do you think that the game should have more like depth? I think they have plenty. You know, I think there's a good amount in Mortal Kombat 1. I think less
No.
so in Mortal Kombat 11. But what do you stand?
Yeah, so I'm someone who I've been competing in Super Smash Bros. Melee, for example, for 10 years. And I played it when it first came out in 2001. And I think that game has hit the pinnacle of very easy to start out, but like the more you get into it, the more you find out that like, oh, you can do this, you could do that. Like you can play the game, you know, day one, like not having played Melee before, and like get a pretty decent understanding of how to play it. But then it's like, okay, there's this niche mechanics. There's wave dashing. There's tacking. There's DI. Then it's like, oh, there's DI. There's smash DI, which changes like your launch angle from the original hit and stuff like that. So it's like and it's something I kind of noticed with Invincible too. It's like very easy to pick up, but very, very deep as well. And that's a very fine line, a very hard line to hit. And Melee, for example, hit that by complete accident. Like the wave dashing and stuff like that wasn't meant to be in the game. A lot of stuff that's in the game that makes it so deep was not on purpose. And it's just they never patched it and stuff like that, and it allowed it to get this insane depth. So I kind of see both angles of it, because if you make it too easy, then you're going to be like, okay, then it's like the skill gap is going to be hard. Like it doesn't matter if you play 2 years, if you play 2 months, you're going to be able to keep up, which is kind of annoying. Because it's like you don't get rewarded at all for playing the game more, or putting the time in, figuring stuff out, figuring out your character, figuring out the mechanics and stuff like that. But you also don't want it to be where you need to play the game for a month before you even know what you're doing, because who's going to do that? You know what I mean? Like when you think of a new game that you bought, the last new game you bought, like how long did you play it before you moved on to something else? A week, 2 weeks, maybe a month? And like that's the minimal amount of time you would need to just understand how to play the game, and then you're going to hop on ranked and probably still get bodied. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard, because like you basically need to desire, like, to find that aspect of figuring out the game fun. And I think a lot of people who are fighting games, like I think of someone like Burrito Voorhees, or Junior, or whatever you call him, is someone who like really likes looking at the niche stuff. Like I remember, like I for MK11, for example, I was on Garrus like at launch. Like I played Collector a little bit, and then went to Garrus, and Burrito like had this like very innovative stuff that like probably took a ton of lab work to get there. And there's people who do really enjoy that. And I think those are people who really like fighting games. But especially when you're first being introduced, when you're someone who plays League of Legends, and you're like, oh, the fighting game, you don't want it to be where it takes forever just to be able to play your friends without, or you're just button mashing, which is fun in itself, but that gets old really quickly. So that's what I say on that.
King Junior, where do you stand on this topic?
Yeah, like it's. I think what Poseidon said about like the competitors like aren't as rewarded for putting all this time into the game because they're trying to make the games more accessible. Like I feel that. And like I play Melee as well for fun mostly, but I follow up with like the competitive scene a bit, and that and Brawlhalla I feel like are some of the best games as far as like they're easy to pick up but hard to master, and so like you probably have a huge casual fan base that can play at a casual level, but they're not going to be tournament level. Now, whether they want to compete or not, I don't know, but they obviously find the game fun enough to play it, and I'm sure they could play it with their friends. Like it's not super execution heavy at a casual level to the point to where they feel like they can't do anything. Like that's it's like I feel like that is probably like that is the hard fine line to try to like find, and I would prefer that our games have like MK9 level execution or MK like 1 with like in some characters like in some degree. There's like easier characters than other in MK1, but yeah, I'd prefer if like you were rewarded for like investing however much time you put into the character or the game. But I know it might be kind of gatekeepy a little bit to the casuals, but I mean, if there's a level that the casuals can play at, as long as they could play with like their friends or maybe even like player match or something, or lower ranked matches, I think it should be fine. And if the game is watchable as well, like not just like playable competitively for the casuals, I think as long as the game is watchable and they think it's like really fun to watch people play it, and they can still also play with their friends like at their level or whatever, then I think that's like a pretty good line. But yeah, I just MK11 was way too severe on the accessibility and the inclusivity. Like it was just the bridge was just too small between the gaps of like the players, in my opinion.
100%.
So I know it's a hard thing to get that fine line, but I would prefer if our games had like the higher execution. Not maybe to like Rio's extent, but yeah, I would prefer them to be on the higher side.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think MK11 was the perfect example of where they tried to do that and then they went too far. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you try to make it like super accessible to everyone, it could backfire. And now it's like, okay, the ability to get your skill to certain high levels. But we saw, in the competitive scene, we saw people be consistent with it. We saw the Chilean twins come, to America and basically dominate until Sonic and Ninja showed up. And it was kind of like those four were kind of the big 4 and 11. So it wasn't like it was impossible to skill gap your opponent, but it's a very easy game to lose. Like you said, you mistime something, you mistime your high a little bit, you get down to, and you eat 50% just because your opponent was mashing. You know what I mean? So it's like, and a game like Invincible, I was talking about they just had the alpha like a month or so ago, and it's like you could like kind of like button mash your way to like Touch of Death, but within that there's defensive mechanics that because it's just an alpha, people didn't really know yet, but you can get out of it, like active tags and stuff. If you time it right, you could basically get out of an active tag. But people didn't really know that, so people were just tagging in and just doing these long combos that weren't too difficult to do, which I feel like is very fun on like a day one level. But then there's going to be defensive mechanics, stuff like that allow you to play at a super high level, so where it's just not you lose neutral once and you lose your entire life bar. But we'll see how that goes, because that could be, maybe that does lean too much to the casual side and that game doesn't end up doing too well, or maybe it kind of masters both, where it's able to get casual people into it who can, are going to play it a bunch because it's super easy to get into. Then that kind of bridges them from casual to competitor. That's a possibility as well. I think that's like the sweet spot, but easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, and I don't mean to keep roasting MK11, but like another thing with like the high execution and like the depth and like not being so shallow is like I feel like there are some day one combos in MK11 that remain to be the main staple combos going into like year 2 or 3 or 4. Like I feel like I was doing mostly the same Garrus combo the whole game's life that I played it. There was like one optimal damage combo I found, but like a majority of Garrus players are just doing double down 2 if they freeze somebody with the time stop. That's like that's not like good replay value in my opinion, and I think that also
100%.
could kind of hurt a game if it's too shallow and there's not like a lot to explore. And again, I don't know if casuals are going to explore those kind of things. Like they probably aren't, but you'd rather have it, in my opinion, than not have that depth. Like the option should be there to whether you want to explore it or not.
Yeah,
but
like it would have been cool. I'm sorry to cut you off, but they said like double down 2 is basically the optimal. It would have been cool if that's like you do decent damage with that, but then there was other things. I know like you're experimenting with like doing like back 2 into the gauntlet into down 2 and stuff like that, and that did like a little bit more damage. Everyone else was just doing double down 2, but I remember watching you because I was in the Garrus, so I was like trying to figure out how to play them optimally, and stuff. So there's like a little bit, but it seemed like the execution was so high for almost no more reward. So just do the double down 2, which definitely shallowed the depth. With a game like this, where like snap or freeze with Garrus, you can do crazy stuff. We see like Demoralize, for example, just coming up, cooking up the craziest stuff with the cameo system and stuff like that. That MK11 just didn't have that depth at all.
Yeah, the irony is a lot of people complain about defense, the lack of defense in modern fighting games. I think MK11 had great defense, just in all the wrong places, right? I think the game, at least for me, is just very counterintuitive. Because like, what's one of the first thing that you do, right, when you go into practice mode, when you learn a game? You probably try some combos, right? Like, yeah, when you try those combos online, what's going to happen? Somebody's going to break away. And then you're going to get comboed in return. It's like, okay, like, and then what's the second thing most people practice, right? They probably will do their combo, forget about the frame data, right? Because they probably don't know about. It was like, let me try to maybe get something going when they're knocked down, right? Because it's just intuitive. And what's going to happen? Well, they're going to delay wake up, or they're going to roll, or they're going to mash buttons. You can be like,
or they're going to invincible wake up up 3,
exactly,
or they're going to do a launching wake up if you're not going to melee because you're afraid to melee at that point. Now they're going to have 2, and they're getting launched.
Exactly. So because they have like 10 options.
Or they're going to flawless block the first hit and time it, and then do a flawless block counter attack.
Or they're gonna fatal blow, right? Like,
so like a fatal,
They're like they have like 10 options. You're like, okay, like I don't understand this game. Like I can't do combos. I can't pressure on wake up. And if the other player is really good, and then you try to attack them when they do a minus string, they can also flawless block launch. It's like it's just a very strange game. I feel like MK1 has a little bit of that, right? Mostly with the cameo system. If somebody does an unsafe move and you're minus strain to punish it, and no, somebody throws grenades or something,
Mm,
well, you could get
mm,
punished in return, right? So that's just an assist game, right? And fair enough, it's not necessarily intuitive, but I feel like MK11 has a lot more of that. I mean, it's really, really
mm.
crazy how much of it has. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I honestly, I loved MK11. I still enjoy playing it from time to time. I'm going to compete at a combo breaker. I remember when NEC said they were doing MK11 bracket. I literally hopped on MK11 immediately, started practicing again. I ended up getting second at that tournament. For MK11. Um, but I'm not sure because MK11 was like my first like actual time like competing in NRS game. So that might be just like the dopamine and the fun thing of like going to events and stuff like that and practicing and knowing how to get better and stuff like that and seeing like, oh, I'm actually getting better at the game. I may remember it more fondly than someone like a Burrito who's been playing the game since like MK versus DC, who's been competing in all these games, who can just see the flaws right off the bat and doesn't have that like, it's like, oh, I used to have this game that had all this cool stuff, and now this is the newest game, and it's dry in this aspect, and the combos are repetitive, and I mean, the defensive options really make it so you can't really apply offense, which takes away the fun of the game and stuff like that. Because there was so many defensive options: roll in, roll out, wake up 3, wake up 2, delay wake up buttons, wake up jump was super good. I don't know why it would, because like you would like wake up jump and then the person would meet you and then you would get hit by the first hit, fall out of it. Like this happened all the time. Or for
Yeah,
example, with Joker, I would do like forward 2-1 kapow, which is back forward 2. But I would do forward 2. The forward 2 would hit. The second part wouldn't. And then because the ending string was 2, it was 4-2-1-2, I would complete the string and then my opponent would get up and hit me and I would get full comboed. It was just like that was my least favorite aspect of the game. That right there, where it's like wake up, jump into you whiff your string because the first part hits but doesn't combo into the rest of it, and you get full comboed. Like it was so frustrating.
no, absolutely. That's why I think a lot of people, even though the game is sold well, very well, in fact,
Mhm.
I think I think it's sitting at like 16.5 million or something copies
That's
sold, which is
insane.
obviously, yeah, it's insane. But for me personally, I feel like the gameplay was very counterintuitive. I never really got into it.
Mm,
Um, so it's not a game that I personally enjoy playing. I did go back over the summer. I played a little bit. And I was like, maybe it's not as bad as I thought, but it was still bad for me. I just
mm,
don't like. I don't think the game, by the way, I don't think it's scrubby at all. I feel like
mm.
Fusion requires skill. I think Jackie
Mhm.
requires skill. Maybe a couple of other characters that I have in
Debatable.
mind. Yeah, debatable. But yeah,
The
maybe they're
crusher is
so
your full
small.
combo.
I think
Yeah,
those are
yeah.
some generous words about MK11. I think it's super scrubby. The game really
It's very
it's
scrubby.
it's a good
I'll
way
say
to send me
that.
to the hospital.
Like can you skill gap your opponent? Yeah, like you said, we saw Sonic Fox not get below second place in the first pro comp at any tournament. They were in grand finals of every event they entered. That shows some consistency. We saw Ninja Killer basically kind of do something similar. We saw the Julian twins be able to like really skill out their opponents. So it wasn't like impossible to be better, but yeah, no, there definitely was a lot of scrubby things, and it was a very easy game to lose. I will say, just based off all
Yeah,
that.
I just like the reason I say it's scrubby is because like the game just allows you to not have to block or just hold your turn.
You do not.
Like the game incentivizes you to do everything besides respect your opponent. Like
Mhm.
you're literally launching somebody for being plus on hit after they land your like a poke or something.
Yeah.
I would get honeybee or biohazard all the time by the up twos. I would hit them with my down one, go for stand one, boom, I got launched. I'm like, dude, this is
Yeah.
bullshit, dude.
Yeah, like
And then
you're
like
gelling. Yeah, that's
yeah,
funny.
nobody's respecting you on wake up because they got these freaking wake up options. The roll,
Mhm.
if you break away at the wrong time, then pray to God that you don't get comboed. Like I don't know, dude. I had to stop competing, and after Frosty Faustings of 2020 with that game, I was just getting too
Yeah.
frustrated, and it was
Mhm.
just not worth it to me. But that's why I see it as a scrubby game, is because it's just the lack
No,
of
that's
respect that
understandable.
you can just not play with respect, and I don't know. It just
As,
I feel like it gives you bad habits going into other fighting games too. Like,
oh
oh
yeah,
shit,
for
I have
sure.
to block in Street Fighter on Wake Up. That's weird.
Yeah, I can't
Or
just
like
wake up
other
jump.
games.
can't wake up backdash. Like I can't. Like the amount of times like you do something like you would poke your opponent, and they would just backdash, and then your thing would just whiff, and then they would punish you. That happened all the time. Like I
Yeah,
know
I think it's
they made it more
yeah,
plus after a little bit, but
the game just had like. I also remember like initially like maybe somewhere with gears like he would just like mash down one and it would just like beat a lot of your options. It
yeah,
was
six
just
frame
like a
down one.
yeah, it was just like a very weird game. And I think didn't Cage also at one point it was 60 frame? Or am I confusing him with MK1? I
I
don't
think
I
remember.
think it was just MK1. He had the 6 frame
Yeah,
down
yeah,
one.
yeah.
yeah.
The
But
6 framers in MK11 were Sub, Aaron,
Yeah.
and Garrus.
oh, okay, okay,
Uh,
okay.
uh,
So
Johnny's 1, 2, 4 used to be +6, which was
oh yeah,
ridiculous.
I
There
think
you go.
well a couple of I guess lessons learned hopefully for the developers, and this has been I think it's not just NRS, it's the tendency to hypercorrect issues from a previous game, right? And what was the
Mhm,
previous? It was Mortal Kombat X with insane offense, right? Better
mhm,
maybe ever than any NRS game ever made. So they're thinking like, okay, let's design this uh, intricate wake up system. It's like, okay, guys, that's cool and all, but it's in the wrong game. Like, why is
mhm,
that's the system that should have been in Mortal Kombat X, right? Considering the 50-50s, the pressure,
mhm,
the insanity of that game, right?
mhm,
So like, why is this system in this game when it should have been in a completely
mhm,
different game? And again, I don't think NRS is, they're not the only ones guilty of hypercorrection, but like,
mhm,
oh my God, was it it was conspicuous. It was very noticeable what they did, and it's like we all kind of suffered as a result. And the
mhm,
second take would be, I guess, it's just that um, I think because the game is sold very well, maybe they thought, okay, this is maybe it's gonna go well. It's gonna go in a good direction. But it seems like at the end of the day, they still kind of thankfully removed most of those aspects. They kept one of them, which is the flawless block. They kind of redesigned it, and
mhm,
I like it the way it is right now. So they
mhm,
kind
I
of,
did too.
didn't learn their lesson, but at the same time they kind of did, which was good to see.
Mhm. And I think like MK11 compared to MKX, MKX was like I said, it was like a rush down mix fest, and then MK11 was kind of like nobody really had mix ups. It was like strike throw. It was like the game
Yeah, yeah.
basically boiled down to that. Um, so it's like the overcorrection, like for sure, like literally night and day, like two basically completely different games.
Yeah,
And
one
like, but
example I will give you,
oh,
if
go
I
ahead,
may
go
just,
ahead.
yeah, because I know I talk about it all the time with Poseidon. It probably is not aware. Like I used to use like pre-patch katana with the highborn, like when
Mhm,
razors were really, really strong.
mhm,
And if you did like razors just on their own on somebody's wake up,
mhm,
it would essentially beat everything except up three, and obviously
mhm,
backdash. But if they backdash, who cares, right? Like
yeah,
she's a,
resets. Yeah.
she was a resets the situation. She was a
Mhm,
footsie and zoning character anyway.
mhm,
That's probably one of the strongest. When I had that, I felt like this is cool. Like
mhm,
if they forward roll, they get hit. I'm plus
mhm,
20. If they
mhm,
jump, they get hit. I get to do more. I get to do it
mhm,
again. So I feel like dealing with the and she didn't have really combos. She would just keep you on the ground anyway.
mhm,
Like when you
mhm,
didn't have to deal with the universal mechanics, you were kind of a happy man or a happy woman. But when
mhm.
you had to deal with them, like you were just miserable. Like you just you were furious.
Yeah, I feel that. Mm.
Um,
I remember Highborn being pretty strong. I think Dragon pulled it out with like 1 down 0-2 at I don't remember exact tournament. Maybe it was ECT or NEC, one of those.
yeah,
They
I
pulled
don't
out
remember.
Highborn and it was like, whoa, this looks broken. Like this looks like what is this? Like
Well, ironically, I think the when the game had like higher power levels in terms of like some like like because they nerfed Aaron pretty badly, they nerfed
Mhm.
Gears to
Oh yeah.
and they nerfed Cage. A lot of the characters got
Mhm.
nerfed, and I
Mhm.
feel like that hurt their ability to deal with these oppressive,
Mhm.
universal mechanic situations. I don't know how
Mhm.
you feel about that.
Yeah, no, I was like I said, I was a Garrus main um until like that first patch is kind of was like it wasn't even like Garrus got like nerfed to the ground. There was this BNB that I had a lot of fun practicing that you couldn't do anymore based off the new um like nerfs, the way they nerfed him and stuff like that, which kind of like ruined it for me, the character wise. And then Joker came out, and that was kind of the rest of history. And I was just on Joker for the rest of the game's lifespan. But yeah, I mean, I think just historically going off the buff nerf thing, especially for the competitive sense, we prefer if the characters are overpowered, other characters get buffed to a point where they're on a similar level rather than dragging the other characters down. But from a developer standpoint, very easy. Like, oh, these two characters are broken, just nerf them, and that, which stinks to especially people who put in time and stuff like that to the character. Sometimes it really is needed. Like sometimes characters are just insane. Like the first meta of MK1, like the Cyrax, like that just was not fun. We were 2 weeks into the game, being like, wow, this isn't fun at all. So sometimes it definitely is needed, but obviously, I think historically and just desired wise, the people would prefer buffs and have characters buffed to higher levels rather than nerfs and bringing characters down.
Yeah, I agree. Burrito, I know you had a thought you wanted to finish, so go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was gonna when we were talking about like MK11 and like the game mechanics and stuff, I was gonna bring up like the legacy topic again. Like, I think NRS going forward should figure out how they want their games to be like and just work with that going forward instead of reinventing the wheel every time, because then you run into an issue of overcorrecting things or undercorrecting things because you're reinventing the wheel every time. So it's like you may need to make corrections because your game might not even apply to having those like issues that you might have had before. So like that's why I like kind of emphasize the legacy topic a lot as of these recent episodes, because like a lot of people are talking about like, oh, what's Mortal Kombat going to be getting involved with now that they're being owned by Netflix, and what do we want to see in the future games so we can go back to getting our sales up and not regressing from MK11 sales. Obviously the game had like a crappy launch, the worst launch in NRS history, and then MK Legacy Collection had a really similarly bad launch, and then I'm fine with this, but like the MK movie being delayed till next year, I'm okay with that. But I know some people like don't have like my kind of patience and are upset about that. And I wasn't a fan of the first movie, so if the second movie is better because of this delay, then I'm happy that that's the case. But yeah, like MK has just been taking loss after loss after loss. It seems like these past 2 years, maybe even like 5, almost 6 years, depending on if you feel like there were some losses during the MK11 days, but which I feel like there was a little bit, but yeah, it's just like that's why I feel like this legacy topic is pretty important, because like I kind of want to go into this with you from your perspective, because you started competing in MK11 days. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So like, of all the NRS games you played, and I don't know if Reptile's like your consistent main throughout every game he's in, but like, what was your favorite iteration of Reptile, if you have one?
Probably Deadly Alliance Reptile in terms of like just
Like gameplay
fun and
wise?
gameplay wise and the way he looked. The thing is like I haven't gone back and like I didn't know what I was doing back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
remember climbing towers and stuff, trying to unlock all the characters with my friends. We just stay up to like 5, 6 in the morning on a weekend, just playing towers and doing things, getting more coins. How do we unlock these characters? How many more coins do we need? I mean, they're like the sapphire, ruby, gold coins, whatever, and stuff like that. And like you had to buy going in the crypt, and half the characters weren't unlocked and stuff like that. I remember just playing Reptile and having the sword and like stabbing my opponent, and then he looked like aesthetically that's my favorite like looking Reptile as well, and also just the one I have, remember having the most fun with, and I would love to go back and like actually like learn like OPMBs and stuff like that. 'Cause I didn't really know that back then. But yeah, that's Reptile has always been like my main. I've always liked the ninjas, especially like Reptile, Ermac, Rain, and then like Sector. I always liked particularly Sector. So those have kind of always been like my like favorite characters. Um, but yeah, that's definitely my favorite version of Reptile.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because Kaiju Reptile is pretty cool too from Deadly Alliance, like you said. That's what I call him,
Yeah,
Kaiju Reptile.
Kaiju
Uh,
Reptile.
but yeah, the reason I ask is because like in MK9, Reptile is kind of like this dashing in your face with the dash attack, and he had like decent space control with the force balls. So and then MKX, he kind of had like the same control on the space, like, or space control with the force balls, maybe to a lesser extent because they were a little slower. But and then MK1, he's like this kind of neutral footsies character with like a okay screen presence with the force balls, but they don't go full screen unless you
It's
spin
very
the
easy to
bar.
jump. You can armor through it. You know, it'll be started.
Yeah, like so he's and like he has like some minor mix-ups too, like in MK1. But like, what if in the next game for some reason they decide to make him like a pure zoner or something? Like, would you stray away from Reptile and pick somebody else at that point, or like would that bother you at all, or like, uh,
Probably not, honestly. I probably would be cool with it. I mean, if they made him like a, it depends on how they did it and stuff like that. Because he always has the dash. He's kind of always been like a. I prefer playing like a more like a rushdown style. Like if I have to, like sometimes it's better in some matchups. Like for example, against Reiko, do not interact with him. I think Reptile does really well in that matchup, but like use space with stand three, back three, throw force balls because it gets rid of the stars. So it's like I'm okay with doing what I have to do as long as it's like fun. Like I don't think like zoning is not fun. I know some people don't. Like I prefer rush style, but like I'll play reptile until it's literally like. I mean, I played through launch reptile like of this game, and I'm still playing him to this day. So I feel like it can't get much worse than that. And if they really really overhauled his style, I guess it would really depend on how they did it. But I feel like I would probably still play him and main him in the next game.
yeah, because the reason I bring up him being a zoner, like hypothetically, is because like, I'd be kind of bummed out if like my character like Garrus, for example, like uh, from MK1, like I love his MK1 design. I personally don't know how you reinvent Garrus from the ground up, like going forward. Like I think they should keep his design in this game going forward and just keep adding to it because it's awesome. But like if he like in the next game was like not this grappler, didn't have reverse time, and like maybe he was like a maybe a like a specifically like more like a trap character. Like I don't know, and if he just played nothing like his MK1 self, I would be kind of bummed out. And
Yeah.
I feel like some designs are definitely good enough to where you should keep adding to them and like make it a staple design for the character because it gives a character identity. Like I like Anoob's MK1 design with the shadow clone ball
hmm
and like the just his game plan is just way more fun than it's ever been, like compared to
hmm
MK9 and MK11 Noob. Or
Yeah.
like Shang's concept of morphing, like it's not very
hmm
effective like competitively right now. It's still kind of weak, but like the concept itself is cool, and I think they should keep like working at it until they do make it better and like keep polishing it. Or
Yeah.
but then you have like the characters I think took like a hit in their game plan or their moves list, like their design, like Scorpion. He's
hmm
like the least saucy character in the like game. But then you have
hmm
like MKX Scorpion exists. He's way
hmm
that's easily like the best Scorpion iteration in my opinion, like gameplay wise. He's just like
hmm
doing these cancels in your face, the fast paced strings and normals. Even
hmm
like some of the special moves like Flame Aura, like that was a really cool move. Ninjutsu has some cool moves, and
Yeah.
MKX, like I don't know why they strayed away from that design. Like it's just strange to
Yeah.
me. And then
Yeah. I mean
that's
that.
not even going into story mode stuff, but why the hell are Scorpion and Sub Zero brothers? Like we have to address that too. Like that's just nonsense to me.
If it isn't the biggest slap in the face to make Scorpion in this game Sub Zero from the last games, like
Yeah, it's just like I
he's
don't
Pai
get it.
Liang in
Like
this game, right? Like
they
yeah,
fix
right?
things that weren't broke sometimes. Like
That was definitely very interesting. My buddy who I run Shibaru TV with, we've been playing like his dad had like a UMK3 and MK4 cabinet when those were like newer games when we were growing up, and I lived down the street from him. We would play those. Like he's been a Scorpion maid since then, and I don't think he's played MK1 in over a year. He just does not like how they made Scorpion, and like he hated like how like it's just like you get the launcher and then it's 4-2-3, 4-2-3, 4-2-3 like over and over again. Until the ender and stuff like that. He just hated how they made Scorpion in this game, which completely killed the game for him. So it's like I think that's a really really good point that you made, where they just botched it in that regard in terms of how they
Yeah.
made him.
Yeah, I'll make one last point, then I know you have to go, so we'll ask you a couple more questions and we'll let you go.
Mhm,
Um, um, I still think there's a balance. I wouldn't like freak out uh, over again, no legacy at all, because I think
mhm,
other games have done that as well. Again, just quick examples so people understand, like with Sagat, for instance,
mhm,
in Street Fighter 6, right? If you play Super Turbo, is this like incredible zoning character, like we just does tiger shots all day, And then if you play some of the older games, I don't know, maybe it's like CVS2 Sagat. He's more like of a footsie character, and I think that's kind of footsie kind of rushdown, slight rushdown character. I think that's kind of what they're aiming for, right? So it depends which legacy you're referring to. So there's nothing wrong with I think changing a character if it's done right. Like I'm okay with changing Scorpion, but maybe not the MK1 way, right? Like like
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Exactly. So I think again, it's a more nuanced conversation. But I want to move on. We'll promise to let you go here shortly. I do want to ask you about a couple of questions about your tier list for Mortal Kombat 1, which you released 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
This was probably like last year, maybe December, mid-December, or maybe
I
late
did it right.
November.
I did it right before they did the new patch.
Correct. So I think one question that I have to ask right off the bat is how how do you place Quan Chi higher than Scorpion, Kung Lao, Smoke,
This
and
Quan Chi is
even
broken.
Ketsu? You
Quan
really think
Chi's.
so?
Yeah. The key. I've never seen a character that's considered universally low tier that literally fundamentally changes how every character has to play them. Like there's game plans because of Armor Portal that like you have to you have to play around Armor Portal, and maybe it's not as strong as it is, but the fact that Quan literally has a move that literally basically changes how every character in the game has to fight him compared to other characters in the game. Um, I think is incredibly strong. The fact that he can get it on block, he can do like 1-2. I'm sure there's like there's ways around it. It's like, well, if you lab this and stuff like that. But like as Reptile, I know I have stand 3, which like breaks his armor and stuff like that. But like it just seems like if I throw a force ball, stand 4. It's like you stand 4 too, which is a full screen normal that hits you and that you do, and it's I don't know. I think Aquan has been good. I'm sure Burrito's seething right now. It's like this is the worst character in the game. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's getting pretty hot in my room right now.
There was this outplay. I don't know. I've struggled with him ever since Armored Portal, and they've only made him better. I think his zoning's pretty good. His space control is pretty good. His ability to get that Armored Portal out, his whole game plans around it. And I don't think he has much more than that. I just think that move is just so strong. Potentially the best special move in the game.
King Junior, your reply?
I think this is massive upplay. But and sorry if you hear my cat and she's like kind of being whiny right now, but yeah, I think the best thing you named about him was the stand 4. That's it. I think I already said this on Twitter publicly many times, but Orange Portal is overrated. It's really not all that bad to deal with, and you can kind of fuzzy Quan like pretty easily for the most part, and it just boils down to him trying to throw you at that point, and I would rather take throws than like legit 50-50s.
Hold on a second. I do think while I do think Poseidon is up playing, I also think you're down playing. No, you cannot. Pre-patch, yeah, you could. Like he has an overhead. If you're stuck in the portal, you have to guess between throw.
Yeah, you do have to get that
overhead.
orbital. And using like Tremor, you can launch with that overhead. You launch with that overhead to a full combo to a V-stand with the cage. Like I don't know, what do you got? Like Killer Shinnok was playing Quan at Last Chance Qualifier, and that guy was playing everything that was broken. I was playing. It was on T1000 before that, so.
I do think well, a couple of things, like not to play the cliche moderator here, but Quan Chi, if you just evaluate him by the portal or whatever standing for, I do think you're gonna get a skewed view about the character. If you actually try to play him and you play matchups like Cage, probably Reiko,
Pre-patch
Smoke.
Tanya, I know it was terrible. I'm not sure if it's probably not bad now.
Yeah,
I know
it's
that
not.
matchup
Yeah,
was
it's not that bad
unplayable.
now. But like, essentially, characters who could just kind of get in and can just like press buttons on him over and over and over again. Just imagine Cage, right? Like, what do you do? Like, he's just like, essentially, all of his moves are plus on you, right? Because they're all like -2, -3, right? And Quan Chi is a horrendous poke, and then to a lesser extent, you can mention, like characters like Omni-Man, right? Like, essentially, I know there are gaps where like everything's just like barely minus, so you can just
characters that have a really oppressive
yeah.
Quan has no way to get people off him. That's the thing. Quan
Yeah.
doesn't have a get off me tool in any capacity. That is his biggest downside. They have basically assured that was not the case. I don't know what they were thinking. He has no real native launchers outside of tentacle, which is 2 bars, which is super silly. I think his design was very interesting. I think they had tried to fix it without like giving him 1 bar tentacle launcher or that. They tried to fix it with like armor portal because he launched without armor portal, which was crazy. He was the worst character in the game. That was for sure. And then they gave him this thing, which is just a very unique mechanic. And I know there's a lot of like counterplay to it, but then he also has mind games of counterplay to it and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, you should never get launched. But now he has the overhead and that the overhead projectile that he had, or is that a mid? The one they buffed recently, they made it faster. That's pretty good now. I don't know. I think he has decent matchup spread. I don't think he's great characters, but I think he's decent.
I think personally, I did forget about his overheads, so you're going to get hit by overheads and grabs, but for the most part, he's still like not launching you a majority of the times that he does land something on you, and like I think he has the worst matchup chart in the game. Like I think he's one of the few characters that has multiple 3/7s, like Homelander, Smoke, Ghostface is difficult. Like I don't know, but. Yeah, I think he's bottom 1. Like even though Tanya's pretty bad herself, yeah, like even though Tanya's pretty bad, I still think they might be in the same tier, but I think Quan's definitely bottom 1 again.
There's been a lot of Quan placements. We had Brosiv in Final Combat back-to-back Final Combats. We had Woolander and Zupa top 8 of Frosties. We had Enzo get 9th place at Evo, all with Quan being like Gambler, Gur, Conqueror. These are all different people too. We have Rother make top 8 of was it Venality? I know he was on some other characters, but he was playing Quan throughout that as well. Like we've had, I mean, maybe it's a not matchup checks, but they're beating good players.
Yeah, I mean,
and there's multiple people all over. I mean, even you obviously have done really well with Quan. At events, I think you got like 13th at LCQ 2020.
Yeah, I wish I would have won Garrus at that tournament, but I wasn't confident in my Garrus as much at that time, unfortunately. But I mean, I've never lost to Quan in a tournament like offline or online. I don't think. Me personally, I think it's just like a lack of knowledge or experience against a character. Like for the most part, that people lose to him. Like that's just me though. Not to like try to sound all cocky or anything. It's not anything crazy to have Quan defense or anything because he's not really meta relevant. But I feel like he's one of the biggest characters that can knowledge check people. Like Doomsday was kind of like Injustice 1 scrub killer knowledge check. Like if you didn't have matchup experience versus Doomsday, you were kind of getting most likely you were going to get pummeled. So I don't know. That's just another case of I think just lack of XP and people freak out when they see the color orange whenever they play against Quan.
Yeah, I think you can make a take. Yeah, I think you can probably make the case that he's not as labbed out. Like because you don't really see him that often. But I actually do agree with Frank. I do think that his matchup chart I think is horrendous. Not because he loses to all these characters, because he probably has like 2 or 3 such horrendous matchups. I think against like really popular characters like Homelander, Cage, whom you see all the time, possibly Reiko, right? Like, and to a lesser extent, Smoke and Omni Man. I just feel like when he cannot get you off of him, I think if you use this character, you kind of have to use one of those characters who has an invincible wake up. If you do not, you're just going to get rammed. Speaking of Ram, I know, Poseidon will let you go soon here. So, last question I'm going to ask you because we really want to respect all of your time. I know this Quanchi conversation can go on forever, and I really wish we could have it. Give us your like top 5 characters, and maybe we can bring you all back. Like I don't know, maybe next week for part 2. But give me like your top 5 characters, like who you think is kind of like meta defining, and we'll let you go after that. To what's your game?
I think Cyrax is still incredibly strong. They nerfed her a little bit, which I think kind of just changed the way her BRB works. I don't think they really affected too much. Very impressive, just one hit and you kill. Homelander, still Homelander's probably top one of those two. I think I had Cyrax on my tier list. I think probably Homelander is now. Homelander's just Does everything well, frame data, decent zoning, command grab, launching command grabs. I don't know what their obsession was with launching command grabs in this game. They made that the case with a lot of characters. Reiko incredibly strong, insane mid command grab that ticks off any button into 40%. Just very, very impressive, huge buttons. The zoning still isn't terrible, although it does lose to every projectile in the game now. Still pretty quick. Who else we got? That's definitely probably my definitive top 3. What am I missing? What am I missing?
Some character, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just gonna name. I'm just gonna mention Cage, Havoc.
Havoc. I think Havoc's definitely top 5. I don't know, like what happened and why people think Havoc's not great. The character's still insane. The character is still, especially with like Striker, it's like 50 a touch. This OS options, mix-ups, safe jumps. Like he kind of just has everything good zoning. He kind of does everything really, really excels in like every aspect of the game. I don't know where.
Poseidon,
Like,
come on, man! You forgot the one thing I like the most about the character. How could you?
the armor. Is that it? Because he has a lot.
Hell yeah. No, okay,
multiple hitting armor plus a quick low armor.
yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking. They just like, let's give him a low that launches, that leads to a safe jump, that has armor. Like I don't know. They're just like, you wanted to do your taxes too, like like okay. And then I think Cage is strong. Cage is kind of been power crept because he never really has been changed all too much. A few things taken away, like obviously was +3, now it's +1, but I think he's still super strong. I think he's probably just outside top 5. There's another character.
Well, Scorpion, is he in your top 5?
No, not Scorpion. No,
I'm trying to think of other characters too.
Honestly, a hot take character that I think is probably top 5, then that's probably downplayed is Melina, or at least top 10. I think he's top 10, debatably top 5.
Can you go? I've been trying to pick her up. I've been struggling like a little bit. Can you like go into detail just slightly, please? I know again, I promise. Like talk about the cameo maybe and like her overall gameplay.
Okay, so Tremor, super good cameo. I mean, she has a lot of good cameos. Even like someone like Serena, super good. Who else are people using? Wow just gives you hard to blockable. So like you just throw the Wow hat down. You do like a knockdown. Like her pressure is super good. She has a plus sweep and the multi-hitting armor breaking overhead. So you kind of just go between those on pressure. 1-2 has a gap, but you can special cancel it to keep it safe. In some regards, you could use cameos to cover. Just absurd damage. Ball roll. Like ball roll goes under reptile force ball. You shoot a force ball, she ball rolls right underneath it. You get a full combo. I don't know why, because it doesn't. It's reptile slide, which and animation wise looks like it goes so much lower than Melina ball roll. Gets hit by force ball, but the Sonic the Hedgehog, that's what I call it, where she does like the ball in the air that launches. It's safe on block and safe on block, launches on hit. It's ridiculous, crazy end game. We'll track anywhere. Like you can do like she'll do the ball roll and I'll dash to the other side and it'll just go backwards and hit you. Just crazy damage. Pretty decent on it. Like I know people are like, oh, why don't her size go full screen? I feel like she would be ridiculous if her size is natively one full screen. I think it's a very, very impressive character. Does everything super well. Plays Mortal Kombat 1 the way you want to play Mortal Kombat 1, which is like the hard to blockables into like knockdown situation, into pressure in your face. Like she does all of that super good.
If you had to say like who are like her best cameos, like maybe like top 2 or top 3?
Probably Tremor, Chameleon. I feel like it's kind of slept on. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chameleon, dude. She gets the overhead launch and low side launch, like with the fan lift ambush. So I'm a believer in Chameleon still, for Melina being top 2 cameos.
Yeah, probably Tremor, Chameleon,
You mentioned Serena.
Serena is good too. I remember Serena, like, cause then it turns into like a zoner in a way, because then you have that full screen option and stuff like that to do that. Plus, every hit leads to like 50. But that's
yeah. Well,
before we go, do you have any shout outs and or like tourneys coming up, like that you're attending or hosting?
Yeah. So
and then we'll let you go. We promise.
Okay, so I do the bi-weekly Injustice 2 tournaments every other Thursday. We just had the other one. Can continue to do those. We do Shiraru Sunday. We do that every other Sunday. Potentially be on the lookout for more events being added, potentially for some of the older titles, especially leading up to Combo Breaker. You know, I'm not going to say too much on that because stuff isn't concrete. Shout out to Shiraru TV, all the people that help with that. Not Scash, Wolf Princess, Zanzoon, Silver Sandbag, Abyss, and yeah, that's basically a shout out to the entire MK community. Shout out to you guys for having me on. Shout out to people like Arma who are running locals. I know competitors running like a local out you where at least you are, Burrito. So shout out to that. I'm a big believer and like that's kind of like my philosophy of running these online events is like being like an online local, something that happens consistently that you're gonna get. I'm not gonna blow you away with the theatrics. You're not gonna have crazy graphics and stuff like that. But there's gonna be a stream, and we're gonna commentate, and there's gonna be an event that's ran well. And yeah, I would say that's basically it.
Waldo,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again when you have more time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry to
Yeah,
chat.
no worries.
I guess.
We can do a part 2 maybe next weekend if you want. I think I like this
Yeah.
personally. I think this is perfect for you. An hour and a half is perfect. Well, please come on for the next episode if you're available. Good luck to
Absolutely.
the Panthers against the Rams in about 2
Mhm.
hours. So we
yeah,
hope
you
to
also,
see you back. Go ahead.
Sorry
I'm
to cut you
sorry.
off. I mentioned I am the big thing I want to do this year is try to make it to like a bunch of offline tournaments. So I'm going to Frosties. I'm most likely going to be at Texas. I'm going to be at Combo Breaker, and as long as they have MK at CEO, I'd be surprised if they don't. I'm going to be there as well, and then potentially Evo, depending on how much I like Invincible. But they don't really have MK, so that's kind of up in the air. But I want to try to support MK as much as I can. I love the fact that Combo Breaker is doing all the games. Like that's like my dream thing of like having more MK games and stuff like that because it's more. We get a new game like every couple of years. There's so many games that are still I feel like not fully tapped out on their potential. So I would love to see that at more events. But yeah, that's it.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. We hope to see you maybe for part 2 next week. Again, good luck to you. Have fun with your football, watching your football game. And good luck to the
Will do.
Panthers.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much
All
for
right.
having me.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.